SAR9 SC Gen 3 shooting impressions. Finally got one in hand. Coming up next, you'll see my absolute first shots through the gun. We'll try the mags fully stuffed, take it over to the trademark What's for Dinner table to see what it eats, the spinner for sights and trigger control, do some grouping on a 1-inch square from 7 yards, and give you my concluding thoughts. All coming up next on We're back 20-ish yards away from a 12-inch round, thanks to Thor targets, and I've got 10 rounds of normal 124 grain for my first shots through the gun. Just recently said this, but I'll say it again because not everyone watches every video. Why do I do a small target at distance, especially when I don't know where the sights are? I could be missing and end up looking like I can't shoot. Well, because first of all, these videos aren't about me, they're about the gun. And secondly, small target at distance forces me to focus and really learn the gun. That's why I do it. That's why it's not a wall of giant steel, and that's why it's not something closer up. All right. I liked the SAR9C Gen 3. How's the SC feel? Tell you, it feels terrible when you can't see your impacts because it's rained here, so we got wet dirt back there. The sun in front of me makes the smoke blind me. Okay, looks like there. Found myself leaning back, which is a terrible stance. As far as feels, it's a subcompact. We used to hate subcompacts, then microcompacts made subcompacts feel a little bit nicer. This feels somewhere between micro and sub. The muzzle flip is controllable. There we go. In fact, after that last shot, let me rephrase that. It feels more like a compact. It's actually a pretty comfortable shooting gun. It's a little slim in my hands, but that's what happens with this form factor. Those of you that watched the tabletop know that although it takes the same mags as the SAR9C, it is indeed a little bit slimmer because they removed the ability to have those interchangeable back plates. Now we'll kill the target camera because I'm just going to shoot into the dirt and get a feel for control as we go full magazine +1, 16 rounds using the included 15-round magazine, which has a different shape to it, and see if I can get a feel for the rhythm of the gun, also how the gun runs fully stuffed. Try some doubles. And triples, of course. Controllable. Get a little bit of a hot spot on my knuckle. That's my hand to this gun thing. Doesn't mean it's going to happen to everyone, but it's got a good rhythm. And I mentioned in the tabletop that this trigger feels heavier than on my 9C. Not that I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but as you saw, it still allows for controlled doubles, having just picked up the gun. Now, is it going to beat a race gun on hammered pairs or something like that? Probably not unless you've got hardy fingers, I guess. How do you describe that? But certainly functional. Next, let's see what it eats. Here comes that radio voice. It's What's for Dinner time. Thanks to some shopping, a patron, and well, yeah, that's pretty much it today. We've got 100 grain up through 165 grain. Goal of What's for Dinner is to see what the gun will eat. That means, does it feed from slide lock, cycle, and feed another round of the same type from the energy of the previous round, and will lock the slide open on empty. Testing beyond that is a test of the magazine. You're welcome to try that, or if you want to experiment with any of these on your own, check the pinned comment where I'll link to sources as I can find them. 7 yards back from some 2-inch circles. These are to serve as a general point of aim, not necessarily indicative of accuracy or whatnot, but it's to show us if we have a point of impact change, as well as give us just a general idea. The main point of What's for Dinner, of course, is to see, will the gun eat the stuff. Starting off light with some Liberty Ammunition steel and plate, 100 grain frangible. And that recoil spring is stout. Interesting low left error, even though I thought I was being fairly controlled. Maybe it's me, maybe it's the ammo in the gun. We'll find out as things go on. SMB XRG 100 grainer, thank you to the patron that made this possible. Did a separate test on this stuff and it seemed pretty good. That was definitely me. So, I think where I'm tripping is this is a heavy trigger and I'm trying to kind of stage it and go slow. And the final brake kind of slips a little. And when I'm applying increasing pressure to normally, try to do a marksmanship group like I normally do, it's possibly throwing the gun low and left as things break. I'm going to try moving the trigger a little bit quicker and we'll see what happens. Blazer 100 grain low recoil. This I think is the softest load second softest load on the table. Not quite as low left, but still low left. I do sense myself flinching a little bit, so my apologies there. Now we have Hornady American Gunner, 115 grain. No, we're gonna go quick to this. Yeah, we're getting there. I think we're figuring it out. So far the guns running well. Recoil impulse not bad at all. I am getting a little bit of that thumb knuckle right there bumping going on. That's something that happens to me on some guns depending on the size, particularly on smaller, slimmer guns. Doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Winchester Silvertip, 115 grain. This tends to be spicy. See how it feels in this little guy. Yep. Still low left. Definitely more muzzle flip there, but as far as the actual recoil, the energy imparted in the hand, didn't feel any less comfortable or any more impact than the other loads, which is kind of exciting. This does have a very strong recoil assembly in it, and that's probably helping quite a bit with that. Next is the Federal HST, Law Enforcement Tactical HST, Circle 6. Either didn't like that or it was me. This gun and another gun that I'm filming on the same day may be something to look for redemption video on, because I don't know, maybe I'm off. Hornady Critical Duty 135 grain. Runs well. Sight appears to be centered. It's probably me. They should probably dot this and come back out. But I keep it real here. I show you guys how things really work. Defense Dynamics from Fiocchi, 147 grain. Shot well. Next, the Winchester Defense, 147 grain. This is their 50 round box kind of budget hollow point. Tends to be a little stout. Second one went a little fast. Gun ran. And lastly, the Ammo Inc. Stolth, 165 grain. This stuff tends to be like shooting 22. And it was. That's a comfy gun for a subcompact. Very comfortable. Now, we'll head over to the spinner. That is a 6-inch spinner target. We're back here about 13 yards away. I use this target for sights and trigger control because it's a small target that moves when I hit it. If I want to get it over the top, I've got to only hit it when it's moving away from me, thus timing a well-placed shot and a great test for sights and trigger control. Got 8 rounds of that normal 124 grain. And we certainly saw the less muzzle energy you get out of a short barrel. The sights on this are pretty good. I love the green front sight. The trigger is clean but heavy. You just kind of have to punch through it, which for a small defensive gun makes sense. You're going to be amped up, you're going to have adrenaline. How do I know? Well, the only gunfights I've been in were in Afghanistan and Iraq, but they were with a military M16 trigger, which many would consider heavy and gritty. And guess what? I don't recall it ever being heavy and gritty. When I needed to go bang, I was pumped up and just moving my trigger. I think the same thing can happen on a handgun, especially at handgun distances. So no fault there. Recoil impulse for a subcompact, very manageable. Made it easy to get back on sights quickly. I think the only thing that held me back for speed on follow-up shots would just be the weight of the trigger and my self-conditioned want to find a wall and break and bounce off of that wall. I think for those of you that are trained the other way of just stroking, you're going to find no problem with this. You just got to apply a little more weight. 7 yards back from a 1-inch square, I've got 5 rounds of that normal 124 grain. Let's see how we do. You always got to throw one. That's the rule. Man, those shadows get intense, don't they? Sorry about that, but this is reality. And really, this is just for the article. That's the main event. The SAR9 SC Gen 3, was it what I hoped for? That was a question, not a statement. Was it? I really enjoyed the compact model. I think this is a more carry-oriented version of that, being subcompact, of course, in size, but also with the trigger. The rest of the shooting characteristics fit pretty well with that compact. I got a little bit of a hot spot on the knuckle. That's my hand on small guns. That happens. That's why I don't carry small guns. But for those of you that have smaller hands or do carry smaller guns, I think it's something to take a look at. The recoil spring is stiff. Like it takes more energy to rack than you might expect, but that's, I think, because we've kind of grown used to softer springs in longer guns. Remember, same amount of energy is required, so when you've got a shorter spring, that spring has to be stronger. That's just the nature of things, physics. The trigger, I think it might be breaking in. I think, because I had less trouble with it on those 5 shots from 7 yards than I did in the very beginning. Still hitting low left. Maybe that's me. Maybe that's my sights. Maybe it's, it could be a bunch of things. But this is dot ready, so it can be compensated for that. Not to say that people use dots to hide shooting errors, but it's definitely something that I can fix. And being off a whopping total of maybe an inch at 7 yards at a defensive distance with a defensive gun, I'm not too terribly worried about. I think I will be giving this a redemption video. I'll slap a dot on it and come out and shoot again, see if I can shoot better. But overall, it's a nice form factor. It's good capacity. I like the magazine interchangeability. It comes with the holster. It's a good looking gun. That's subjective, but I think it's good looking. I think we've got a good one here with the SAR9 SC Gen 3. Thanks for watching. GBGuns, due to level ammo, I'm G.B. David F. Derrick S. Jr., Donald H. B2, Fast Eddie Gary B, George H. Grant K, Jenna I. Joseph T, Kevin B. Marvin T, Moses S. Peter A, Rich Scott King, follow 215 Tom. Thanks for the tip, level Allen B, Bristol County Jail.
level, Adrian H, Brad M, Carol B, Daniel D, Edith P, Gary LC, GBGuns, GBC, 1986 of MD.